Welcome to the Diamond Hands podcast, where medicine meets momentum and branding becomes a leadership system. I'm Tracey co-founder of Diamond Hands Media. I build aesthetic brands that lead, with a background in employee benefits and business finance, so brand becomes authority and asset value. This is mindset, money, and marketing for founders building brands that run without them. Because brand isn't a logo, it's how you lead. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Diamond Hands podcast. Today, it is an honor and a pleasure to have Miss Carly Ornelas, RN. She is the CEO and founder of Speak Easy Aesthetics out in Tennessee. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. So excited to be here.
I know, me too. So guys, I actually met Carly at Aesthetic Next recently, right? And so I don't know when this episode is going to come out. So guys, if this is like 2 months later, don't at me. But in any case, like we were going to dinner with what was it? It was a Vondellos, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, we were going to dinner with the Vondellos and we were talking and it was like such a vibey conversation between all the ladies. It was just like so beautiful. And I was like, this girl is about it. I was like, I always know when people are like about to blow up, and I'm like, this girl is doing her thing and she's gonna get even bigger. So I was like, I need to get her while she's hot. So
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was a fun dinner with a bunch of powerhouses. So much needed.
Exactly, much needed. So, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, your business Speak Easy. So you've run your business now for how many years?
So we have a California practice as well and Tennessee. We've started in California about 9 years ago and then relocated to Tennessee. That's the practice in Tennessee will be 3 years in November. Yeah. So it's like a toddler in Tennessee, but I feel like it's not anymore because we have the California practice where we learned a lot of mistakes early on. And now the Tennessee practice has kind of just been like the culmination of all that learning and now moving forward in a positive manner. So it's been great.
I love that. And that's something that like, a lot of practice owners don't get to get. They don't get to say, hey, I was in one market, did one thing, made some mistakes, and I was able to open up in a new market and, not repeat the same mistakes that I made in the first market, right?
Yeah,
Blessing.
definitely. Yes.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, so Carly, who were you before you were the CEO of Speak Easy? Because, everyone comes from somewhere different, right? Some people are coming from, derm. Some people are coming from, the emergency room. So where were you before?
Yeah, so I actually for many years worked in ER, hospice. I was a wound care specialist. I also worked for the largest pharmaceutical company in the United States. So CVS Specialty, I used to run all their specialty medications for hemophilia. So did that for the West Coast for them for a while. And I did a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and got kind of burnt out, as a lot of ER hospice nurses do. And I thought I wanted to do something that would be easier. And so, and I laugh when I say that because if you're listening to the podcast, truth is you're probably in aesthetics and all of us know that this is not easier. This is a different animal. So I quickly learned that this is a different type of hard and a different type of determination. And so I pivoted from that pretty quickly and started my own practice through actually my medical director. The first one was a doctor that I worked with in the ER for many years. So yeah.
So cool. I mean, I love that. And, with that, it's like, I know you were getting burnt out, and that was definitely a factor. But when did you realize, even before the burnout, that, you were like, I'm not like everybody else. I'm not like those other girls. Like, I am meant to kind of do my own thing because you could have said, hey, I'm going to go work in, I don't know, maternity or something. I don't know. You could have chosen something different,
Yeah.
So what was it?
Well, I think I've always wanted to do something artistic. I'm definitely beat to the rhythm of my own drum, if you would say. I've always been one that's kind of a little bit more of a leader, not necessarily a follower. And I think for me, it got to the point where I couldn't really help like I wanted to in the field of healthcare because of, regulations and insurance companies and things of that nature. And so I thought, well, how can I be like of service to the community and like be artistic? I'm very different when it comes to a lot of things. Like I kind of stick out like a sore thumb in a lot of different ways. And I really just wanted to be able to focus on like something artistic that gave me some, you know, really good validation for like my own journey, you know.
Yeah. No, and I get that. So I noticed something you said there, Carly. You said that you stick out like a sore thumb, in so many different ways. So, what do you think is one thing that maybe people in your community get wrong about you that you feel they should know? Because
Well, I think like when you first meet both my husband and I, when you come into our practice, we're very different. So like I'm very heavily tattooed, which really shouldn't matter and it doesn't, right?
yeah.
But I think that first impression, sometimes people are like, "Oh my gosh, like where am I in a tattoo shop?" No, you're actually in an aesthetics practice, you know? So I think that can sometimes like come off at first like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" But that's just an expression of who we are and like how much we love art, and it's just something that we love. So
Mhm.
the bottom line is that we're still like the top of the line providers in the industry. Like I like to, my husband and I always have this saying, and he'll say it like he always says we are the best, like he like he and we believe that, like he truly believes like we are the best. It's that mindset of like the abundance mindset, and
Mhm.
like the expansion mindset, and like really truly honing into like that belief that like what are we going to do today to be our best selves, and so I think that's something that like a lot of people might not know about us. And we just are like good vibe tribe in here. We have our whole staff is almost feels like family, and that's like a very key thing when we hire and bring people into our practices is, you know one, what does their energy feel like when it comes through the door? Like I need to know that my patients are going to feel that same, positive energy when they're coming in for a treatment and they're trying to relax and all these things, so we really like are very very picky with who we bring on board, because we really want that whole experience from the very front door all the way back through, and even just communicating with us at the front desk to be that really like cohesive positive experience. So
I think that's so key though, because I know that you had downloaded or that you bought that book that I was referencing.
I
One of
did.
our talks.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just got it. So I'm actually going to start it today. I'm so excited.
I love it. So a
Yeah.
guy so Goldman, he talks about this concept of energy contagion or have you. And it's just like something and so what you said, I think is so pivotal for everyone to really understand here. It's like you really have to I don't you really have to police, for better lack of a word, who is coming into your practice because they're an offshoot of you, and we cannot blame anybody if the people who are representing us are not doing it in the way that we want because we let them into the club, and we're rewarding their behavior with a paycheck.
Yep. And I've done that before. I've had people come and work in our practice and then me feel guilted, like, oh, I should just give them more time or this or that. And I know they have things going on at home.
Mhm,
But the what happens in those situations when you allow people to come in your space and they're maybe not 100% in,
mhm.
or they're maybe not 100% like the positive vibe, and they're not able to, because we all have difficult things that happen in our
Of
life,
course.
right? But you really have to be able to leave that at the door. Your patients know that, and I would see that trickle down effect with that individual, like, they're not getting as many bookings as they should be.
Mm,
The people know, they can feel it. They're not going to rebook. They could
yeah.
feel your energy in the middle of that facial. They could feel that energy transfer. Maybe you said something, and they said, "How's your day?" And you said, "Oh, well, it's been a day." That's a response that's going to elicit that patient feeling like you don't want to be there to provide a service, you know? And so I think I've gotten, for many years in the beginning, I would be okay with, mediocrity, and I'm not anymore. I don't have time for that anymore. I don't want it. I want no part of it. I want people that are excited to be alive and that want
Yes.
to give and be a part of something bigger, because, I want to give to them, and they should want to give back to our practice as well. It's a give and a take. So,
Yeah, and I think
you
that's
know.
so poignant. So, like yeah, so I wanted to ask you, it's like, what would you say to someone who has someone in their practice that they're like, "Oh my goodness, they still get bookings. If I get rid of this person, I'm gonna miss out on the bookings that they usually get, but this person is very negative." Like, what would you do in that situation with someone who is negative? You've talked to them, you've tried to bring them up, but still everything is always woe is me and it's huffing and puffing every time they're at work. What would you do?
I think you don't realize how much the practice can be affected, or any environment, how much you're affected until you actually remove that negativity.
Mm.
And so you don't even see what's happening, that it's spilling into everything, every single part, until it's actually removed. And then you go, wow, it just feels lighter in here. It feels brighter in here. Everyone seems happier. The patients are, really excited to be with this new team member. So I think a lot of times we want to like hold on to people that maybe don't necessarily want to be there. And that person that we're holding on to, what if they're going to be better served at another place? What if there's actually somewhere else that's going to be a better fit for them, you know? So, like for me now, I just try to like be very intentional with who we bring in, and also be very intentional with who we get rid of, like you kind of have to. So, and I've learned that because for a long time I would just wait and wait and wait. And now it's like, and we all have bad days,
Yeah,
right?
of
So
course, we all
that's
do.
not, yeah. So that's not definitely something like I'm going to can somebody over having a bad attitude one day. But, the repetitive thought process and the negativity, I mean, you have to be intentional with wanting to be positive. I do, you
Yeah,
know?
same here for the most part.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So we try to like build that. We actually have like a chat that we utilize in our practice where we do like little fun prizes, like they can win a $50 Amazon gift card if they get, a couple reviews, and they do this, and they maybe sell a skincare product. And the vibe in the chat is always like positive, uplifting, good job. How's it going? How's everyone doing today? Checking in, and so we're trying to like build that core group internally that's like a family, so that it just spreads that way. You can spread your positivity, can spread just like negativity too. So we're
Yeah.
trying to really like focus more on that.
And I think that's excellent. And so, in light of things, so I want to ask you this now. How do you maintain a workplace that's positive, however, that also has room for differing ideas and maybe thoughts about things? So you continue to innovate or maybe do things
Mm,
differently or take suggestions from someone.
yeah.
So how do you create a container for that so people still feel that they can speak up if they have a differing idea or say, I think this
Yeah.
could be done better?
Yeah, collaboration is key
Mhm,
in anything. I do not know everything, right? I
mhm,
might be the owner of the practice. My husband and I might own the practice, but that doesn't mean that I know everything. There might be a better way to do it. There might be a differing idea. And so I always try to like let our staff know, and even patients, they can come and talk to me about their experience and tell me how they felt something did. If they feel like they had a bad experience, what can I do to be better?
mhm.
There's always room for growth in this, especially in aesthetics. This is such a rapidly growing field. If
Yeah.
you just think that you have it all figured out, by tomorrow you're done. You can't. It's always changing, constantly evolving. Techniques are constantly moving and changing, and there's new
Mhm.
people coming into the market, and, all these different things. And so if you become complacent and think that you know everything, that's when I feel like you're dead in the water here. It's really, really important to collaborate with your staff, with the community, with your patients. We do a lot of networking in the community. I want to know what are you guys looking for? What are the services that we see a need for? Well, how can we fill that gap? And so just being really open and available. And I think, being open to communicating with different people, all different types. Everyone sees something differently. And I learn from everybody
Yes.
daily. Even I'm a clinical trainer for several companies. Every training I go into when I'm with a new trainee, it can be somebody that's only been injecting for 2 months. I
Mhm.
might learn something from them,
Yeah.
you know so it's like you just never know like what you want to add to your toolbox.
Yeah.
So
I think that's just a great thing, encouraging open dialogue and
mm,
understanding, like you said, we do not know everything. And when we
right.
don't know everything, it's okay to keep an open mind, even if it's something that we might not necessarily believe in. Like, why do you think that way? Tell me
Yeah.
more. I want to learn more about it.
Yeah.
Is it something completely harmful or
Yeah,
something?
and I wanna know what your experience was,
Hmm.
because it might be different than mine, and maybe the decision that I made isn't, gonna be appropriate for your situation. So it's like just always being open and communicating, like, to everybody, because we all perceive things differently too, you know? So,
True.
yeah.
Yes, I think that's, in some practices, an owner can run things with an iron fist and they only want yes people around them. They don't want anyone saying, oh, you're not doing this right. Or I came from corporate. I think I know a better way to do this. Sometimes people don't want to hear those things. And, you know, life is about movement. Like you said, you like to be the community, you like to be moving. So you kind of keep your ear to the street to say, what is my community that I'm actually serving? What are they actually looking for? You're
Right.
gonna find those things, and you're not gonna find those things by staying in the 4 walls of your practice and not interfacing with anybody.
Correct.
Because
Yeah.
patients are influenced when they come in the door, and you might
Yep.
get the real things or the real thoughts about what they want or how they think or
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
so I wanna ask you, and too, about, like, how people perceive things and everything. So, you work with your husband.
Mhm.
Yeah, so your husband's your business partner. And,
Yes.
and I come from the same camp, so I appreciate it. But I do wanna ask you, how did you get into business with your husband? And what is the hardest part you think about running a business with your partner?
Yeah, so my husband is amazing, and he does a lot of balancing in our practice, right?
Mhm.
Because there's a lot of feminine energy here, and he's an alpha, just very much like me. Okay, so but he's the male alpha, I'm the female alpha, right? So
Mhm.
he got into business with us. Well, we actually, prior to COVID, we had a practice together, and my husband was very successful in the construction industry. He was a foreman for large jobs, like was doing very, very well in life, right?
Wanna kill it. No, I know.
Yeah. And so then he's like, you know what? And he saw that what we were doing. He's like, I want in. And so he literally left his coming home, after 12 hours of work in dirty boots and everything, and jumped completely into the aesthetic industry, which if you see Joey, you'd be like, how'd you get in here? He's this big burly guy that is like, but now he's in scrubs and he operates lasers in the practice, and not just operates, he's a specialist. Like we were listening to a podcast the other day on laser, and he goes, do you know, and like, does that make sense to you? And I said, no. I said, the laser side for me is I'm the injectable regenerative side. He knows lasers like I know that, and it's because he's really like truly dedicated time and effort into immersing himself in the field. So he did that. And then during COVID, we actually were locked out of our practice in California, and they locked the doors, wouldn't let us in. And we still, as everybody knows, we still all had invoices due. Everybody wanted to get paid for everything, right?
Mhm.
So I said, we need to pivot here and figure something out. So we actually doubled down, and we expanded our practice in California into a bigger space, moved, and we switched the name to Speakeasy Aesthetics, because it was like the COVID was like the prohibition, where women were coming to us and like, can't you just meet me in the parking lot to do my Botox? My husband's never seen me without wrinkles in 20 years. And so we're like, this is crazy, like we were busy. So we switched the name to Speakeasy Aesthetics, and it totally fit our vibe.
So cute.
Yeah, so that's kind of how we got into that. And then how we work together now. When we first started, there was a lot of this, right? Because you got two alphas, two cooks in the kitchen, it becomes very difficult, right? And I think what I've learned, and what I'm still learning, is I have to allow him to take the reins and be really good at what he's really good with, and we delegate tasks. So he does this, I do that. But the bottom line is that we are both like unified front when it comes to the office. We talk about everything, we discuss everything, we come to conclusions together and make those decisions. And I think that that's really key for one, the employees knowing that if they talk to one of us, it goes to both of us,
Yeah.
right? So there's no back end stuff, none of that. And then also like being on the same page as far as like our vision and where we're going and where we're heading and how we want to get there. So working together is definitely difficult because you're together 8 hours a day in the office, and then you go home and you're with that same person. So I have a hard time turning it off at night. He's great at it. He can leave home, doesn't want to talk about work. He's so good at that. I still am one, I struggle with that. So that's like, for me, one of my goals is to like really get that good work life balance and like shut it off when it's the end of the day. I just keep going. We both have that entrepreneurial spirit, but sometimes it can really like affect home life too. So trying to find that good balance where, I can leave it at the office and then have good quality family time too. So, yeah.
No, and I get that. I mean, and I definitely can empathize with you because I live the same life, right? And it's just like much like, but if you go back into guys, if you want to do a little history. So women are generally the ones that are on top and the man follows the woman's direction. But we're gonna
Yeah.
leave it alone. We're not gonna get into that right now. It's too deep.
No.
But oh, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
ancient texts. Uh,
Yes. Yes.
It's like because 'cause we're the ones that have duality in us.
Yes.
Whereas men
Yes.
are one, we
Yeah.
have both. It's
Yeah.
very interesting. So
Yes.
so yeah, so I mean, I think and for those of you out there listening who may be working with your, husband or partner or what have you, I know one thing that has really helped me, Carly, is like we have designated date days. Like
Yes.
it's
Absolutely.
it's like, that's it, and, like, sometimes, like, if it's, like, late, we'll ask each other permission, like, "Is it okay if I talk about this?" Like, or whatever. Is, like, it okay? Because like, sometimes we're not in the mindset to
Yeah.
continue to talk about work, so I know that's something that we guard pretty religiously now, like, Sundays is, like, our date day, right?
I love that.
And it's
Yeah.
like, that's us. Like, if people ask me to do stuff on Sunday, I'm like, "Nope, gotta be at
Absolutely not. Yeah.
days for my husband. Bye."
Yes. Yeah, I love that. So good.
That's protected time when you guys intentionally
Yeah.
so I think for those of you listening, if you're struggling with that, it's like, it's gonna be hard, especially when you love what you're doing, like Carly does. It's hard. You're like, "Oh my god, I've got an idea for a new membership."
Yeah, and that's where I have to realize, okay, put it in my notes in my phone and put that away. And don't bring it up right then. You know what I mean? So I am a work in progress with that for sure.
No, I get it. I get it. And so, and I know we talked a little bit when I met you about like alignment. And so I want to ask you, how important is alignment? How does alignment show up in your bottom line, like in your revenue? And how do you know when you're out of alignment?
I mean, I think it's everything. Our Tennessee practice, we've been very intentional with how we attract clients. We're trying to attract more quality over quantity, although we are a very busy practice still. So it's not that we're lacking in quantity at all, but we're trying to focus more on providing that quality service and attracting the clients that are looking for that, right? And I think that if I were someone that was just doing a ton of specials, and we'll do a couple specials here and there. We usually do like 2 specials a year. We'll do it like July 4th and holiday. We'll throw a couple together. We might run a couple laser specials and things like that, but we're not ones that are I never ever am one that is focused on being the cheapest in the market ever. I will not do that. And that's what I did in the beginning in California. Is I thought that's what you needed to do. And I learned very quickly that that is just a race to the bottom, at least for us.
It's
So
for everyone, trust me.
I think it is,
It is for everybody.
Yes. So I really just focus on the alignment of attracting that good clientele that works well with us, that really wants to be educated on procedures that they can do, and we can kind of treat them that way. And then what happens is they tell their friends that are looking for that same type of a service. You know what I mean? And so we definitely focus more on attracting our tribe, and that's worked well for us. So I remember in the beginning when I started, I would be worried that like a new injector was like down the street or something like that. Or like, oh my gosh, like I have to do this special. They're doing this special. Like I have blinders on now. I'm doing this, like I want to know what we need to do for our bottom line. And I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
I don't care if there's another injector down the hall from me. It doesn't matter, and not at like anything disrespectful. Like I want them to succeed as well, right? But I do not have time, energy, or space for worrying about what other people are doing in the market. It's a waste of energy. You know, I know what I'm really good at. I know what our practice is really good at, and we're going to focus on that, you know? And I think that that helps with being in an alignment and helping the bottom dollar too, instead of just focusing on throwing out specials. And then you get these patients that'll come in once for that special and you never see them again. That's not us. You know, we say that like our patients are like cult members, like they don't leave, you
Yeah.
know? So in a weird way, but they come to us, they ask for advice,
Mhm.
and we're able to help them. And if it's something that I can't help them with, I'm going to refer them to a practitioner that can, right?
Mhm.
Someone reputable. So, we even have people that'll ask for service for house cleaning. You know what I mean? So that it's more than just like coming in for like injectables.
Mhm.
People trust us and they want to know, hey, do you have somebody for this? Do you have somebody for this? Or, if it's like a general practitioner and I don't have somebody in the area, I'm going to try to seek out somebody good for them. Right. So it's more than just like a bottom dollar service and then see you later. Like,
Yeah.
that's just not me. I wouldn't feel comfortable in my own skin doing that. I truly love serving the people that I do. I truly love having them in my chair. I look forward to hearing about what they did for over the weekend or how their family members are doing, and like in this industry, we go through really hard times with patients, and sometimes we're the only thing that they have to look forward to,
Mhm.
you know? And so these are valuable relationships to me. It's not just like a $8 a unit Botox, like, oh, no,
No,
you
I
know?
I get it, and as they
Mm.
should. They are valuable because it's like, you get to serve these people. They could
Yeah.
be going to someone else, but
Yeah.
they're sitting in their chair and they've chosen you based on the positive energy, based on the consistent experience that they get. Because
Yeah.
people are coming in and like you talked about before, and they're getting off energy sometimes, high energy sometimes, and there's just always like this yo-yo. They're gonna be like, this is not a place for me. And they're going to start seeking, where they can
Mhm.
go next. And
Yeah.
that's just truth.
Yeah. And there are those people that will do that, and that's okay. They're just
And
not for
that's okay.
me.
Of course.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
not everyone is for me, and I'm okay with that.
And I think that's the best thing when you realize that, and that's what you're talking about, that alignment. When you realize that everyone's not for you, it's
Mhm.
okay, and there's no bad blood. It's just like, "It's okay, like,
Yeah.
didn't work out this time. Peace."
Yeah.
Like, and that's just it, because for every person that is not for you, there's, like, 100 that are for you,
And
and
that's
that's
the
the
truth.
coolest thing.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
And, I know you're probably gonna, like, scale again and everything, so, like, for you,
Mhm.
what do you think your next level requires that you let go of?
Yeah, so I think 'cause I have been helping a lot with clinical training, corporate training of like large scale private equity companies for a while now.
Mm.
And not that there's anything bad with that, but I think that our next level is going to really require me to kind of like stop being the huge benefit to others and really honing in and focusing that energy here. So I'm going through that process right now. It's a great process. I'm still available and open to stuff, but maybe just not like have as much availability,
Yeah.
for things like that because we are looking to scale. We're going to be opening up another practice in Tennessee here pretty quick, probably in the next few months. And then we're looking to kind of expand more into the Middle Tennessee market. So, with that comes where's the time coming from, right? Where am I able to do that? And so something's got to give. And
Mhm.
so, just focusing on us and what we love to do is probably where I'm going to be going with that.
And I understand that 100%. So, like, for you, when you kinda give so much to these other companies, and there's nothing wrong with that, like, I see
No.
companies too, whatever,
Yeah.
but at some
Yeah.
point, it's like, what's the difference in your mind? Like, when does it go from being a growth move to, like, betrayal of what you're building?
And that's where that like the pros and cons list really kind of comes into play, because I've learned so much in these positions, right? And I'm so grateful for the relationships of the corporate spaces. They've brought me into relationships just like this, but it just becomes at what point do you just kind of focus on your little nest egg? So I think it's just a learning pain, And maybe not. Maybe I will have time for other stuff. I really have no idea what God's got in store for us.
Of course.
So that could change pretty rapidly. And
Mhm.
I know I never have it all figured out. Right. So,
None of us do.
mm-mm.
It's just like I always say, I'm like, the more buttoned up a person is, I'm just like, the more they're probably it's like battling some demon from like
Yes.
seventh grade or something, saying
Yeah.
you're not good enough or you're never gonna amount to anything. So it's just like, no, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
polished. I'm gonna be poised. I'm gonna be this. I'm gonna be that. And this is usually rooted in something. Most good
Absolutely.
entrepreneurs, it's rooted in something.
Yep. Absolutely. 100%.
And like, for you, like, so in your business, I know that you and your husband operate differently and like obviously you have systems or whatever.
Mhm.
And so, like, if you could give listeners like three systems to kind of run in their business to keep things running smoothly, what would be those three systems and why?
So I personally have tried to build out internal reward systems
Mhm,
instead of relying on the companies to do that for us
mhm,
because I got tired of that.
mhm.
So I have built out our own personal reward system because I want that patient being rewarded for coming to us, not because of what medication was injected. So that's
Mm,
key. That was key for us because we have our internal rewards program, right?
mhm,
And then, like, I think the front desk, like really just having the elite, answering the phone and customer service is huge
mhm.
because if you're not receptive on the other end of the phone, they are hanging up and they're going somewhere else, right? Like that's huge. And then also just being available and people really being able to see who you are. I
Mhm,
think even on social media, like I know that's not necessarily a system,
mhm.
but that's where everyone looks to for us now.
Yeah.
They want to see who we are. They want to see what's going on in this practice. Who are these people? And I know me, I'll look people up on Instagram before I do other places. You know?
Yes.
It and so our patients do that too. So like having a good core information I think out there is really important. That's a good system. And then of course like protecting the practice with like
Mhm.
good internal support, whether it's charting, all that stuff too, because as quickly as you can build in this industry, you can also be taken out with
Yeah.
legality stuff. So that's key. And a great bookkeeper.
That part, and you guys listen to podcasts, I love my bookkeepers. I love my
Yeah, us
bookkeepers,
too.
I love my CFOs, like,
Yes, you have to.
you have
Yeah.
to because, knowing the financials, when you're starting, you're probably gonna do it by yourself. If
Yeah.
if you're just, like, bootstrapping, but
Yeah.
once you get to a certain level, no, you need to have outside
You
help.
can't. Yeah.
You can't
Can't.
survive.
Mm-mm. Nope.
And, we're winding down here, but, I know that many entrepreneurs that we're addicted to pressure,
Yeah.
whether it's doing something last minute or it's like the chaos, the dopamine rush and all those things. So, even with systems in place, like, is there any part of you that you think is like still addicted to like
Oh yeah.
pressure?
100%. 100%. It's always like, even today, it's like, oh, I was asked by a company, can we get on a call? Actually, two companies today. Can we get on a call today? I look at my schedule. I'm like, there's literally no time, right? You probably had this today too. And I'm like, but I'm going to make time, right? Why do I do that? I can very easily say no. So, yes, I'm an Aries. I'm a
Mhm.
fire sign, and I'm definitely addicted to the pressure. I do really, really well in those environments. Now, you tell me to go be bored in a room, I'm going to have problems,
So
you
many
know?
problems.
I'm going to make problems. There's going to be something going on with that. So I think I wouldn't say I'm addicted to chaos anymore. I want no part of chaos, but I do love pressure and I love the pressure and the feeling of building something.
Yeah.
And I love setting goals and reaching for things that feel like they might be unattainable. And then you get there and you're like, wow, I really did that. So
Super.
yes, I love the pressure.
Love it. And I think that that's a really I think that's something that a lot of us share. It's just like, okay, don't want chaos, so to speak.
Mm-mm.
We're past that, we've elevated past it a little bit, but
Yeah.
pressure is nice. And so I want to ask you one last question before we go. So, what's the mission that you're afraid to say out loud that you haven't said, but it's really your mission that you want to have, your mission, your legacy that you want to have in the world, say if your practice closed tomorrow?
Mm. So I think a lot of times in aesthetics, people think it's very superficial. I totally don't believe that. So I would like people to have thought that our legacy is that we really did want to help people, and that we really did want to enrich their lives and bring them some value. So, besides just treating a forehead with some wrinkles, I want people to remember the cleft palates that I've helped correct. We have a young girl who's 12 years old that had severe burns that we've been doing scar work on. There's so much that we can help, and so that's really what I would like us to be remembered for is the good that we've done in the community, and even just helping sponsor teams and helping the community and stuff like that. That's kind of what we really want to be remembered for. And just even just being there for somebody that maybe just needed a ear, or talk to somebody that maybe they didn't have anybody to talk to, that I was approachable and that I had good energy and they really wanted to be around us. That's what I would want to be remembered for. Our results speak for themselves. I'm very confident in that. But at the end of the day, if you take away the needle from me and I can't inject, anymore, I would at least want to be known as a good person.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest deal because it's anyone could inject, but not
Yep.
every, medical practitioner is going to make someone feel good about
Right.
what just happened or whatever
Yeah.
happened or after. So,
Yeah.
really poignant. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank
So
you.
so great. So yeah, guys. So basically, Carly Ornelas, RN, you could find her on Instagram. I'll link
Yes.
everything about her in the show notes, but she's RN. So make sure you follow her. She's a mover and shaker. She's doing her thing in the industry. She has spoken at AES, spoken at Aesthetic Next. She has some other things coming
Yes.
up. So
We do.
yes,
Lots happening.
I know we could talk for a long time. I already know it, but I'm just I know you got things to do, girl. But this was such a great conversation. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Want more clarity like this? Join the Branded Practice newsletter community. I write about strategy, systems, and brand leadership straight to your inbox. Go to diamondhandsmedia.com to sign up. And if this episode hit, share it with someone still building without a brand. This is the Diamond Hands Podcast. Thanks for listening. Now go lead.